What's going on, guys? So today we are back working on the Trans Am again, and I have quite another list of things we need to kind of accomplish with this thing mechanically before we can put the interior in. So today we're going to try and knock out as much of those as possible. But first, let me give you a little quick tour around the new and improved shop. At least I hope it is. We'll go ahead and unplug this baby for a second so you can hear me a little better. So being this thing is, finally left the garage, at least the side it was on, I decided to kind of revamp everything because I did not like the way I was working on this, just kind of crammed in the corner. So I decided just to sacrifice the second bay, and instead of trying to store the Camaro in here, I'm not going to store it here anymore. It's been out of the garage for so long because I've been working on this thing. I decided just to kind of make this its own dedicated work area. So now by moving the workbench that was here and the workbench that I used to do like transmission work on, I could finally get all the way around the car, so I don't have to kind of just move it one way or the other depending on which side I'm working on. And this just alone working on this is going to be so much easier. I have a lot of room over here. Possibly I might be able to fit the Escalade in here now, but without a doubt also working on the Tahoe is going to be so much easier. And also by just kind of sacrificing one bay and only allowing me to fit one vehicle in here at a time, it's going to ensure that I just focus on one thing and don't end up leaving something on jack stands for like 3 years again. So if I want the luxury of working in a covered building with some sort of climate control, I'm gonna have to just finish what I'm working on. So that's kind of the plan, to force me to, move my ass and get cars in and out of here. And here is everything we need to work on. Obviously we're not getting this all done in one day or one video, but I think this is pretty much everything until we have a complete car. Like, with the exception of the paint being crap, this is like everything we need to have a fully functional interior, and everything is pretty much happy, joy, the way I want it. Let's start with the muffler. Now I know you guys might like that and think it sounds incredible, and believe me, I think it does, at least at idle. However, driving this thing around, it sounds like shit for some reason. For one thing, it's way too freaking loud. It's actually louder than my Camaro, and it just sounds like terrible when you get on it. It just makes this, it's a little droney, and it just has this like clappy kind of fart cannon. I don't know how to put the tone. It just doesn't sound very good to me. So I picked up a single chamber Dynomax. It's actually the same muffler I'm running on my Camaro. There she is for anybody who's interested. That's like the longest muffler you could fit up under there. It's 27 inches in all. Now, is it actually gonna sound good on this car? I don't friggin' know, but it has to sound way better than what's on there. And I mean, if it could quiet down, my Camaro's running a 4-inch exhaust, and then right at the end, I neck it down to a 3 with this muffler. And being it's a straight through muffler, it doesn't really restrict it much. And it just sounds way, way better than that. And you can see how big the case is on it, and it just goes straight through. It just has a bunch of little holes in the pipe. There's a bunch of, I guess, fiberglass or some kind of like sound dampening material in there. And as the air just goes straight through it, it kind of bounces around in there and makes it quieter. That's how a muffler works, right? Now I'm going to spare you all the details of me ripping this thing out because you saw me install it just a few videos back. But pretty much all I'm going to do is cut the Flowmaster off and weld the flange onto that muffler. And yes, I decided to go just with a single outlet again because I do not have the, I don't have the patience, or I don't feel like making like 2 outlets right now. Come on, baby. Look at all that room. Look at that. Easiest friggin' muffler swap, man. Well, it's easy to remove it. So now you see exactly why I decided just to keep it a single outlet. We are just gonna chop that off of there, weld it onto here. Probably gonna have to shorten this down, and then we'll just chop this down, chop this here, weld that onto there, and then we could just stick it back up onto the car with the exact same mounts and everything. There we go. Not too bad. See what she sounds like. Now I'm really hoping for a lot less fart and a little more exhaust noise. Oh my God, that is so much quieter. So much better. All right, so the muffler is taken care of, and you'll see I have starred a rear clunk. Now, I noticed that the battery, for some reason, we'll get to that in a second, it clunks in the hold downs, like the whole battery hold down clunks against the body of the car. However, let me give you guys a look at the exhaust here. All nicely painted and installed. Not only is the battery making noise, but somehow the exhaust is rubbing on the axle. Now, I did everything I could to avoid this. This is a stock rear end. I really didn't think it was gonna be an issue, but hey, I guess the way I set it up, I just have the pipe a little too far back. Yeah, so I should have slid that up a little bit. I'm kind of tired with exhaust. I don't feel like even dealing with the rubbing Y pipe that's on the list. So we're gonna leave this for now. My new thing for 2024 is to remove the vehicle from jack stands. That way, it doesn't end up on said jack stands for another 3 years. All right, you know what? Let's jump on the power steering. So this is what I ended up ordering. I think this was like 80 bucks, 80 to 100 bucks. I got it on eBay. And this is just a controller that's going to pretty much allow the Volvo pump to get full juice. Because apparently when it's in safe mode, when it's not getting like a CAN signal, like when it's in a Volvo, it runs at like 70% capacity. I don't know if 30% is gonna make a difference and actually make this thing feel good. I left this little harness on the pump, so we just have to tap into those wires, just jump ignition power over from somewhere over here, because I have ignition power, I think, coming off a relay. I forgot how I wired this thing up. But anyway, it's pretty much just a little board. However, the way they give it to you, it's kind of crap. Like, it's barely in heat shrink, and I'm not mounting this in the car and like running it out. The funny thing is too, it's adjustable with that little like switch there, potentiometer, whatever it is, but it's covered in heat shrink, so you gotta poke a hole in it to adjust it. So what I did was go on Amazon and I picked up a little, they give you a shit ton, but I got this project box. And this is just a little plastic box. As soon as I figure out how to open it. And it's just for like a little project. Like if you're doing like building like a Arduino board or something like that. And if I measured correctly, look at that. Man, for 100 bucks, they could have just sold it this way. Look at that, it fits in there perfectly. So pretty much I'm just gonna stick this in here, probably silicone where the wires come out. We'll mount it somewhere outside the car under the hood. Let's tie it in and see if the steering's any better. Also, you may notice I have steering drip on the list here, because for some reason the steering box, it's leaking out of the input seal where the shaft goes in. I'm pretty sure I resealed this box. I don't know, maybe I nicked one of the seals. It's not like bad, it was leaving a stain. However, I put in half a bottle of this in there and it's not leaving a stain anymore, but it still looks wet under there. So I'm just gonna pour the rest of this in and I'm crossing that off. We're gonna call that fixed. Steering drip. Green question mark. Okay, well, they give more than one. Oh, that's the wrong size grommet. Okay, get in there. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, it's already maxed out. These two wires, one goes from ignition on the car, which is what I have running into the pump now, and ground. So pretty much I'm gonna connect this to the car, one of these to the car, and then these three go to the three that go to the pump. And that's where I have ignition going now, where it's like running just in default mode. So let's make those connections, plug this thing in, see if it does anything. Oh yeah, it sounds like it's running way faster. But what does it feel like is the question. Ooh, all right. It's still a little slow, but you know what? No, that's way friggin' better. I'll have to see once I get it on the road, but immediately that's definitely better. All right, so I'll wrap it up. This thing might actually do something. All right, well, that's another thing taken care of here. All right, I'm happy about that. Two major things. The steering is fixed, and she's not loud as shit anymore. So I ended up just using some hot glue to seal those wires through the grommet. I just zip tied it to the existing wiring, ran a ground up here. I got to get a little ground block to put here, but for now that'll do. Power steering works. Let's go ahead and pull the thermostat, because that's a pretty easy swap. I got a 160, that's all I could find. I think it's a 160, 160 or a 180. I don't remember. It's a 160 or a 180. That's OEM for like a Yukon in there, so it should run way cooler with this in there. Tell you one thing, that's the one that's gonna cross thread when you go to put it back in. If you're not careful, and I am very careful some of the time. This is what a weird friggin' thermostat. In goes the 160, 180, I don't know. Well, that was simple. By the way, if anybody's wondering, these are the truck, the coil covers that came with the truck motor. So I just got this off eBay, off a Camaro, the center and the two covers. And then I just came in here because these have like these tabs underneath. I just cut like notches out of the truck covers, and it like works perfectly. It slips right in there like it's supposed to. And then there are studs that hold this down with little like nubs on the top. And that just pops down on the nubs. That locks into that little square that I cut. And it actually fits pretty good. I also adjusted this. I took the little shims I had out and I lowered it down, so now it doesn't rub on the hood anymore. All right, we'll see what that does for us. Hopefully the fans work a little better, because right now she just runs around 212 even when the fans come on. It goes down to like 208, doesn't get any cooler, so I don't know. We'll see if that does anything. It doesn't overheat or anything, but I'm a little concerned like when the AC is running and when the summer comes around. Hopefully this thermostat helps. But gauges, I need the tack and the speedo wired still. I don't feel like doing that. Let's take care of the slow crank, and maybe we'll take care of the battery clunk at the same time in the back. So just so you guys can hear what I'm talking about, I'm just gonna crank this girl over real quick, just for a second, and turn it off. I don't even think I have to start it. I mean, you probably heard it already. You hear how it kind of like, it's kind of like a dip. It never used to do that. I think it has something to do with the battery location. I'm not sure what though. I think it's either the circuit breaker I added or the ground is shitty. Because I ran a 0 gauge wire from the back of the car to that block over there, and then I ran a heavy wire going down to the starter. So I don't think it's that. I mean, 0 gauge should be plenty. So, and the funny thing is the circuit breaker, I have a 150 amp circuit breaker in there, it doesn't pop, which is crazy. So I'm going to guess, my ground is, it's just terrible. I don't know why I grounded here. I mean, it seemed like a good spot at the time, but it's literally on the inner fender well, and these cars like to rot like right in here. This one looked all right, but it's not actually going to like the frame of the car. So I'm gonna leave that stud there, and we'll leave all those little grounds going there that go to all the like the fan control and everything. And let's see, the wire's long enough because it has a loop under it. Maybe we can get it, I don't know. I mean, the carpet's gonna go over this. Maybe like right here would be a better spot, and we can see if that helps. And if that doesn't work, or you know, better work, yeah, let's just pull the breaker out first. Let's remove that circuit breaker. Let's see if it makes any difference. I don't know if you're curious about what I meant by battery clunk. This is one of the noises I hear coming from inside the car. Battery's tight. Like it's not the battery, it's the hold down. The hold down is like rattling against this on this side. And it's tight, and it's mounted up the way it's supposed to be, so I gotta like see if I could shim, maybe I could stack some of this stuff. Just kind of fold it over and stick it between this bracket and here, because that's driving me nuts too. I hear that perfectly clearly because there's no interior in the car. All right. Those guys are together. Let's give it a shot. Nah, it sounds the same. Oh, that was a little better. I don't know, I can't really tell. It might be a little worse. That might be part of our issue. Yeah, this is like, it's pretty long. You can even just spin it so it spits out the other side. Just stick it on there that way. And we got plenty to kind of mess around with. There's no really good, because there's no, I guess this is the frame rail here. Yeah, I mean, it's a narrow shot, but that is like, that's welded right to the frame. Get this up here, maybe. Oh, that's just too convenient. Let's just do that. I mean, the factory already gave us a nice provision for it. A little hole back there. Can I see the floor? I can't see the floor, I'm screwed. Oh, right on the money. All right. Yeah, that's right. That's grabbing the edge of the frame, kind of. That is going to be a very nice ground. Wow, I can't believe how easy that actually was. All right, what do we got here? We need a 15. It's a little better. Let's try that with the, I'm gonna do the bypass the circuit breaker. It didn't make much of a difference. Oh, maybe it did. But at least the ground is going to the frame now. And for anybody who's wondering, I do have the motor grounded to the frame itself. That big boy right there, that's bolted right to the side of the block. Nice clean connection. Let's just make sure it's still tight. Yeah, it is. And then that goes under and it's grounded. I cleaned the frame up. It's going right to the frame under here. You can't see because I got all the covers under there for the air dam, but that's going directly to the frame. I think I used the one of the existing bolts for the brace for the cross member, so that's fine. I got a ground strap back there, little one. That's mostly like for the electronics of the engine. And our starter wire, that's that big boy there. We gotta put the brake light switch back in. I have a new one somewhere in here that actually fits this car, and the other one gotta go back in the Camaro. This sucks. What? Oh, that's the torque converter wire. What the hell is there an extra wire? Zip tie's gotta go. Strippers, need strippers. I didn't bring the crimpers with me. And blue with the black stripe. Screw cruise control. That does not work anymore. Oh, dude. I didn't tie in the torque converter wire. I don't even know what this third wire does. You know what this last? I don't know. I hooked it up anyway. That's probably for the old torque converter. I probably just tied into that. Let me just solder that stupid torque converter wire. That'll work. Plug her in. Left the brake switch. Brakes aren't working. Circuit breaker. Hey, brakes. Perfect. Let's keep it on here. Brake light switch. All right, making progress. I'm probably just gonna do one more thing tonight. Let's do the lights. We'll just check all the lights, make sure everything's good. That needs to be done for the inspection anyway. So let's start with the headlights, because I already have two brand new ones that I bought when I got the car. Never put them in. Actually, let's pull them out, unplug them first. I mean, the taillights are still on, but, oh, you know, I could just, turn the circuit breaker off. All right. Now, how do these suckers come out? Just little Phillips screws like every other GM. Never actually pulled a headlight in a Firebird before. I'm pretty sure that's for the, oh, is that for the adjuster? I don't know. Let's just start unscrewing shit. Technically, I could take this off. It's probably the smart thing to do. Oh shit, I'm losing a screw. Oh man, okay, that just makes everything so much easier. That wasn't even the screw. See, glad I took it off. The funny thing is, I have the thing too for this. The little things to aim these. They're like these suction cup things. They stick to the lens. And you can aim your headlights professionally. So unfortunately, my battery died before I can come to the exciting conclusion of installing headlight bulbs. But got them in, got my high beam back for the one that was burnt out. And I took it on a quick spin last night after the camera died, and somehow I made the exhaust sound even worse. That part's not terrible. Just listen closely. Before it sounded like a fart cannon, now it sounds like a wet fart cannon. Probably, and this is my next step, it's gotta be that cat. It's gotta be. I don't know what else it would be. The cheap Amazon 4-inch cat I put on there, that's the only thing that's really muffling other than the muffler. So as soon as we get this thing back, we're gonna cut that thing off and see if it sounds any better. In other news, the thermostat is actually working really good. The brakes are making noise, but the thermostat's working maybe a little too good. We're sitting at 190. Like at a traffic light, we're at 190. So it's probably a 160 thermostat. I probably got to put a 180 in there, but at least we're not at 212. So that did something. There's a new noise coming from the rear with the pitch that it rattles with the pitch of the exhaust note. Also, there's definitely an exhaust leak coming from the driver's side collector. Now that the exhaust is so quiet, I can hear it, and like just snipping around under the hood, I can smell really bad exhaust fumes only from the driver's side of the bay. The passenger side, there's nothing. So I don't know if it's the header to the head leaking or the collector. Either way, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. But we have something else that we have to add to the list. It also still starts really pathetically. So the ground did nothing. If anything, it may have made it a little worse. Also, the steering, it's not bad. When I took it out, just for that quick kind of whip around the block last night, I didn't even think to check and notice if it felt better. Like, it felt like a regular car, so I think that's good enough for me. Even making like quick maneuvers, yeah, even on the highway, you could kind of move it quickly. It doesn't get stuck. Like, that's how bad it was before. Even on the highway, when you're moving, which shouldn't even be an issue, it would still be just like, it would hit a wall if you would immediately go to turn the wheel. That's completely gone now. So I think that definitely was worth like the $80 to $100 I paid for it if you are going to be running this Volvo steering. All right, I'm going to give it a little romp. Listen to this. Oh, do the Gen 5s just sound like shit? I don't think that's the case. Listen to this beast. I will say that. Where's the trans mount? It's like back here, though. I guess that's where the exhaust is from. Also, I think putting like stock mounts in this thing may have been a bad idea, because I feel like the drivetrain moves around a lot. Like, there's a good amount of space between that Y pipe and that cross member. And just like not even getting on it, just driving around and hitting a bump, it hits against the floor. So either the mounts are really rickety, or the car is probably folding in half. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get subframe connectors as soon as possible. Woo-hoo-hoo. Jesus, dude, this thing is quick. Also, it's probably worth mentioning, this does not have a limited slip diff in it. It just has a peg leg. It's a Trans Am. I don't know how they option these cars. It's a Trans Am. It's got the Trans Am package, which you think it's the sporty package, but it has a 273 with a peg leg. So we're gonna have to put at least like a diff in it at some point. I'm probably gonna leave the 273s. The funny part is, the 273s are probably going to be way stronger than going to like a 373 or something, because you have more contact. And because this transmission is so like just ridiculous, it accelerates like fast as hell anyway. So it's like you don't even need, it already blows the tires off. You don't even, the tire off. It doesn't even need anything else as far as gear goes. shitty V-band clamps. Shitty ass V-band clamps, to be specific. I had a feeling this was gonna be an issue, and of course it came and bit me in the ass. Remember I told you guys I had an exhaust leak that I can hear on that test drive coming from the driver's side? Well, it looks like we have exhaust leaks from both sides. This is the passenger. Yeah, that's the passenger. You can see we have a bunch of soot escaping from there, and the same on the driver's side. And inside the clamp, it was all like sooty, totally leaking. These clamps came with the headers, those Speed Engineering headers, and they didn't come with gaskets or anything. And usually V-band clamps, you don't need gaskets. However, most V-band clamps, like any other V-band clamp I've ever seen, aside from the ones that actually use gaskets, they're like this. So one side has a channel cut in it, the other side kind of has like a raised edge. So when you assemble them, they kind of nicely click together, and they seal that way. These don't have that. They're just two flat surfaces without any gaskets, and of course they were going to leak. So my plan right now is to do absolutely nothing about this. Well, I am going to use some cardboard. I'm going to make a template in case I can maybe get some gasket paper, high temp gasket paper, and later on we'll slip that in there. It's going to rain tomorrow, and I want to get this thing out today, get this video up for the weekend so we can actually romp on it and see what the exhaust sounds like. We're going to have no traction tomorrow, so now's the time to do it. I don't have any RTV that's going to dry quick enough to bother slathering on there, so let's get a template. Next time this is in here, we'll just try to take care of it then. For anybody who doesn't know this, I know the old school guys are going to know this, but if you have a piece of cardboard, which I did have perfectly cut out just for this, here it is. We're just going to lay this on here, and we're going to hammer it out, and then the edge of the metal is going to nicely, perfectly cut us a gasket template. Did I say nicely, perfectly? I meant the paper is going to slide and I'm going to butcher it. Oh boy, this is a disaster. Okay, and there is our perfectly cut out gasket. I did this one on the floor before I started the camera. It works, believe me, trust me. Okay, just gotta weld around this. And then my hangers that I just put on, that side had to go, I cut it off. This one, I don't know if I'm gonna use this or not. No, I don't need this, I gotta use, yeah. I don't know, let me weld it first and I'll figure out the hanger later. What do my welds look shittier than usual? Ah, I'm almost out of gas. Whatever. Why, hello there. I'm not gonna lie, I like the quick jacks, but there's something a little unsettling about essentially being caged into a tight space. Yeah, when you have jack stands, you can just scoot out the side. When you have quick jacks, the only way really out is through the back or through the front. And pretty much my plan is, when I get some gaskets for this, we'll just bring it in here. It'll all be connected. You know, the hanger will be on there. It'll be bolted to the, it'll be clamped to the back with emerges. And I can just slip these two guys off. It's not gonna go anywhere because it's held by the hanger and the back. I'll just slip them off one at a time. Either cake a butt ton of RTV in there, or if I can actually get a gasket material that won't burn, I'll cut my own little gaskets. So we should be good. Come on, man, get down there. That is all. That's just mouse shit and acorns. And probably a bunch of my wiring harness. Ugh, God, okay. It's crazy, they were living in the frame rails outside of the car, and they were living inside the car. All right, that's pretty good. Let's put our little test pipe in, and I gotta throw the wideband back in, and I gotta tighten that hanger that I put in. Why is the V-band clamp hitting the bottom of the car? All right, and there we are, all together. There are some slightly suspect spots. Really, the only area is right over here. You can see it right up in there. It's a little tight. I mean, that could potentially come in contact with that, but I don't care enough to try to pull this pipe out and fix it now. So we're just gonna run it and hope for the best. It's also very, very close right here. Very, very close. However, this part does not move. This is just a brace. This is the paint on bar here. This moves. And I don't want to jinx it. I don't know. I could wiggle it. It's not hitting it. And I would think more than anything, it's going to want to go up. So let's hope that's not an issue. But I mean, other than that, everything else looks great. It's nice and secure. I ended up putting the stupid old style straps back in just because they work better. And I think those other ones were what was giving me that noise of the exhaust like resonating through the hatch, because for some reason it was, I guess the mounts were too stiff. V-bands, all clear now with our new floor modification. And I got the hanger back up. And everything, it honestly looks good. Also, while I was in here and I had the pipe down, I finally got those rear bolts installed for the cross member. The Holly uses 2 extra bolts you got to drill and install, being the panel bar, not the panel bar, the torque arm is now mounted on the cross member. Finally got those in, so that's another thing crossed off the list. And it looks like we have substantially more clearance right there where I ding that in. Restricted that it like messed the friggin' tune up. She'll go, she'll go. Alright, we're having technical difficulties here. I will say the startup sounded a little more in line with what my Camaro sounds like. Even though that has like a much bigger cam and everything. The tone has definitely gotten better on startup. It's not nearly as quiet as it was with the Cat. And it's not nearly as crackly as it was with the Flowmaster. Well, it's still pretty quiet. All right, it's definitely better. It's not as quiet. It still has a little more rasp than I would like. But I mean, it's better. We'll see how she sounds on the road. I will say the exhaust leak seems like it's gone. It's all right. I'd start the Camaro for you guys, but it has no battery. And it has a different cam anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't know, maybe these LTs just don't sound like LS's. I mean, who would have thought it's not actually an LS? Well, we already crossed the muffler off. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like that or not. Let's say this is fixed. Might be. Rear clunk, we'll leave that on there because the battery's making the noise. We'll fix that a little later. Let me show you what I did for now. I forgot, I never actually did anything about this. I have this on the way, so I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm just gonna put the terminal block here. That should fix that issue. And then for the battery, I ended up just putting some sound deadening in there. It's a little better for now, but I think once we put the interior back in, I'm just gonna pull this out, sound deaden all this, put a bunch behind here, and that should fix it. It's definitely better, but it still has that kind of like I mean, it's definitely better. That's the part that I don't like. That it's not as quiet as it was before, and when you tip in on it, you know, to a point, it has a nice like growl to it. It sounds pretty good. It's just once you hit this spot in the RPM band, it's when it starts getting a little like. My wideband is completely. We got to start getting the interior back together in this thing. I don't actually have a cigarette lighter, so I got the wideband plugged into a booster pack, which probably isn't the best thing because it's not getting the same ground as the sensor is on the car. So I give you guys a taste of it. Y pipe, I don't hear it hitting on anything. That's good. I still hear the rattle now and then, like when I come to a stop. But I think it's just, because I don't feel like any like drone in the car, like the exhaust is rubbing on something. It sounds like something's just rattling back there. It's probably the heat shield for the muffler, most likely. That's like the gas tank heat shield. I don't really hear too much clunking going on back there. There's a lot of kind of squishy, squeaky weirdness, probably because it still has like 35, close to 40-year-old bushings still back there. Front suspension sounds perfect. Steering, absolutely fantastic. I keep forgetting because it's not awful anymore. I'm not like, what's wrong with the steering? It just feels like a regular car. All right, that's definitely, she sounds mean. There's just still that's on top of the meanness that I'd like to just tone down or get rid of. We'll keep running it, and I don't know, maybe it'll eventually kind of break in a little bit and get better. At least the steering's fixed. That was a big issue. We'll start getting the interior together, and then I could get this thing inspected and get the alignment done, because the tires are starting to look a little bit. The grunt is there, the growl is there. It's just, it needs the wet fart filtered out of it. Zero drone, so that's nice. Way better than the Flowmaster on the highway. However, there is the fact of the thermostat that's working a little bit too good. It wasn't terrible when it was idling, but now that I'm on the highway, it's running at like 174. Probably gonna be great in the summer, but I'm pretty sure that's a 160 I have in there. I gotta get see if I can track down a 180, and I think that'll be perfect. When it does kind of idle, it gets up to 190, then the fans come on low. Not even high, the fans come on low, it comes down to like 185, and they turn off. So the thermostat's making a huge difference with the temperature and how the fans are working. We just gotta get a little higher one in there, and that should be fine. Transmission feels great. I will say this, the brakes on this car are absolutely incredible. I'm gonna say best third gen brakes I've ever driven. Like now that I got that factory proportion valve out of there and I got the Willwood in there that you can actually dial it in, so much better. Like they bite so friggin' hard. The brakes on this thing I actually think as of right now are better than the Camaro, just because the Camaro has a giant cam and I never actually got around to putting a vacuum pump in there. It's a stage 4 blower cam. The idle vacuum, it's very low. It's around like 6 or 7 or something like that. You have to like rev it up a little bit and then you'll get slightly better brakes. But yeah, I should probably get on that. All right, so it's better. I mean, we made some progress. The Y pipe sounds great. It's not rubbing on anything. That doesn't need to come down again. I mean, it's not even, doesn't sound like the exhaust is leaking anymore either. That little bit of noise is just the valve train with the heavy aftermarket springs, the valve springs. But for the most part, yeah, she's pretty quiet. I think that leak is gone. Worst case, we just got to loosen those clamps. We'll slip a gasket in there, but that front's done. The back, I'm still not sure about. We might still mess around with it. I'm definitely going to leave this on here for now. Just kind of see what happens as it breaks in. It might get a little better. It might get a little louder. The tone might change. It's really just that kind of high-pitch raspiness that I'm trying to get rid of. That sounds like somebody kind of trying to spit through a straw, like a... That's the noise that's annoying me. I'm trying to get rid of. Maybe a resonator, maybe a different muffler, maybe another Dynomax, just a shorter one that doesn't muffle as much. I'm not really sure. Definitely leave a comment. That is absolutely disgusting. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I could try. I'm really just looking for like a muffler, something I could just kind of slap at the back like we did today. I mean, the good thing is now that I have that kind of test pipe in there, even if we want to play around like a resonator, I could just drop that pipe out with the V-bands, put a couple V-bands on a resonator, pop that in there, and we can mess around with that. The muffler, I do have a loud mouth too in storage. That wasn't my Camaro. Probably going to be louder than I want. Will it help with that rasp? Probably not. I don't know. It's something we could play around with. But the steering feels great. So if you do have Volvo steering and you want to do something about it to make it not feel like absolute crap and terrifying and have a giant dead spot when you go to turn the wheel, I definitely recommend picking up that little module. I'm going to put a link to that down in the description. It's going to be an eBay link, so it might expire, but there are a bunch of sellers on there selling them. I'll also put the Amazon stuff if you want to make it nice and like put it in a little box to keep it out of the weather. I think next video, we're probably going to knock a few more things off that list and then start focusing on the interior. We'll probably start getting the dash back together, maybe throw some speakers in it, and then eventually work our way to the rest of it after we get these heat top seals replaced.